This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Join the sexual evolution and get ready for Sex is Medicine. Sex is Medicine is your #1 resource for holistic sex education. Explore the connection between sexuality and spirituality, pleasure and personal growth. Discover the art of using pleasure as medicine and reclaim your birthright to more joy, more pleasure, and more satisfaction in every area of your life with Devi Ward.
Good evening and welcome to Sex is Medicine. I am your host, Miss Devi Ward Erickson, and we do need to change that introduction. We are not here every week with you anymore, though we were, and those were fond memories, but we are here the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live. And in between shows, you can always catch me at AuthenticTantra.com and DavyWardTantra.com. Shoot me an email with any questions, check in, check out some of our free ebooks, and let's just stay connected because I love hearing from you. This evening, we have an amazing show. I'm so excited. We are going to be talking about a not-so-fun topic, bacterial vaginosis, BV, but it's a topic that is of concern for many, many women around the world. And we need some guidance, we need some education, and we need some insight on how to address this issue and keep our yonis happy, healthy, and feeling wonderful and pleasurable. So I am very honored this evening to have my guest, Miss Nina Helms, who has been on this show with us before, sharing her wisdom. And Nina C. Helms is the founder and CEO of She Intimate Fitness. These are amazing yoni products that I've had the honor of being able to sample and use myself. And Nina is the founder of these 2 lifestyle and sexual wellness companies designed to enhance women's comfort, confidence, and quality of life through products and education. As a counselor, author, and presenter, Nina has shared her expertise on intimate health and wellness and women's self-care topics for the past decade. She's introduced an array of pioneering products to the sexual health and wellness industry, and she's got some good news for those of us out there who are interested in having access to these products to help keep our yonis happy and healthy. And she's on a mission to create change and galvanize women's actions through raising awareness and normalizing intimate health and pelvic wellness issues. Thank you so much for joining us, Nina.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yay. So I wanted to have the show on natural remedies for BV because a while ago we did an article and a video addressing a question from a friend of mine. A friend of mine sent me a question. She's like, and she noticed that when she made love with her partner and he ejaculated inside her yoni, and for those of you who don't know, yoni is the Sanskrit or tantric word for vagina. So when he ejaculated inside her yoni, she would notice that it smelled different the next day. And she didn't say it smelled bad. She just said it smelled different. And so she was wondering if the semen could change the way her yoni smelled. And so we answered that question. And then since then, we've gotten so many questions and so much feedback on that particular video of people wanting some information about how to cure bacterial vaginosis. Apparently the research I did, it said it's estimated that as many as 70% of women worldwide may experience BV at some point in their lives. And so the first person that I thought of to address this issue and answer all of our questions and give us the nitty-gritty details about this issue and how we can prevent it or address it once we have it was you. You're the first person that came to mind.
Ding, 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 ding. Great. Happy to be here to shed some light on this topic.
Yes, we need it because I think there's a lot of misinformation. And, I know for me, when I was young, when I was a little girl, it was like, I was given like antibacterial soap to wash my yoni with, or like Irish Spring, or just all sorts of horrible things that would make me itch and burn and like not be good for that delicate, tender tissue. So there's so many people out there that don't understand what products we should be using on our genitals in order to keep them happy and healthy. So that's why I wanted to invite you, because you are a specialist in this.
True that. And not just don't know which products to use, but don't even know how to cleanse properly. So that's something that we're going to touch base on tonight, to make sure that, because whoever educates us about that, we all assume that, you know how to wash, but really we don't.
Right. So we need that information. So let's start with at the baseline. Like, what is BV?
So, bacterial vaginosis is an overgrowth of bad bacteria in the vagina. So our bodies have, it's a buzzword going around now called microbiome. Maybe you've heard of it. So, that's little microorganisms that live in our bodies, on our bodies, that help keep us healthy. And we've got a really good balance of good and bad bacteria in our vaginas. And what happens with BV is the balance gets thrown off, and the bad bacteria sort of dominates the environment. And symptoms of bacterial vaginosis are things like a vaginal discharge that sometimes has a fishy odor. And physicians can do a swab and identify it by something that's called a clue cell.
Okay, wow. So they do a swab, and it's a particular kind of bacteria that they can identify. So it's not just that, like we were talking earlier, it's not just that I went to work out and I'm a little bit musky, or I just got off my period and I've got a strong scent. So it's actually a bacterial infection.
Correct. It's a bacterial infection that does need to be, if you're exhibiting symptoms, it needs to be treated by a physician with an antibiotic. Now, we should know that over 85% of women who have BV don't even know they have it, and it clears up on its own. So if it's not causing itching, irritation, infection, and that odor, then you don't even know you have it, and it'll just go away.
Okay, so if you don't even know that you have it, then, so I'm just kind of confused about that. If you can walk around and there's no symptoms of it, then it doesn't seem like it's actually a problem.
Well, then it's not a problem. And actually, bacterial vaginosis isn't really a problem unless it's irritating us. I mean, there are some women whose reproductive system can be disrupted from it, but that's if they have it long term and it's very disruptive to their lives. So, unless it's causing irritation and funk, as you said, you don't really need to do anything about it, because it's not really, yes, it's called a disease, but it's dis-ease, right? Discomfort.
Yeah, so the people that have been commenting on our website and the women that I've spoken to about it, like this can be like traumatic for some women, and usually what they talk about is a really horrific odor associated with it. And it sounds like that for many of them, what they've expressed is that it's hard to get rid of, or it keeps coming back. So what are some of the causes of BV? What's going to make this happen?
Okay, well, we might be a little bit more familiar with yeast infections. Also, so between BV and yeast infections, about 75% of women get one or both of those in their lifetime, and then recurring, at least 50% of those women have recurring incidences. And the difference between the two is BV is a bacterial issue, and a yeast infection is a fungal issue. And both of them are imbalances in the environment. So picture your vagina, or your yoni, as you say, as a beautiful, delicately balanced rainforest. And in marches maybe a penis, maybe an antibacterial wash. And that is like a bulldozer in your rainforest, and it disrupts the environment and allows bad bacteria or fungus to take hold and become that infection. So some of the things that cause it would be a change in our vaginal pH. Now, our vaginas have an acidic pH in the high 4 area, and the rest of our body is a 7, and semen is actually a semen, which is alkaline. So when you're introducing something that's a pH that's higher than our acidic environment, that might be disruptive if you're sensitive. Now, to some women and their biology, it's not a big deal. Those are the 25% of the women who never have these infections. But to other women, it just imbalances us and allows that bad bacteria to take hold and cause those symptoms, that odor. Another thing that hygiene is not really related to BV, in that if you're practicing normal, good hygiene, like washing daily with a pH balanced wash that doesn't have inferior ingredients in it, that's usually off the shelf soaps aren't so great. Well, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
So you were saying that hygiene is not...
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So I started that in the beginning of the show. So one of the things that I talk to OB-GYNs and urogynecologists all the time, and I ask them, what's the number one issue you see in your practice? Across the board, they say it's BV. And many times it's because the women are not touching themselves when they wash. So it's really important when you're bathing to clean between the folds. And I even told that to a woman the other day who asked me about BV, and she said, what do you mean between the folds? And I was like, your labia. You need to spread them, touch them, wash them, rinse them, and clean out stuff like toilet paper that gets in there, sexual fluids gets in there. So we need to be unafraid to touch our yonis and clean them properly. Now, we don't want to hyper-cleanse, and hyper-cleansing are doing things like douching. And douching is another bulldozer in the rainforest, okay, because it can take away good bacteria and leave room for that bad bacteria to take hold.
So I have a question for you, wondering if you've ever heard of this. So I've done shows on circumcision, male circumcision, and one of the fascinating things about the male foreskin is that it covers the head of the penis when it's intact, and it makes the whole head of the penis mucous membrane. And so the bacteria on a intact penis penetrating the yoni, this is what the doctor told me, is compatible with the mucous membrane bacteria of a woman's vagina. So it doesn't cause infections, as opposed to the bacteria of a circumcised man. It's the same bacteria as on the surface of your skin. And so that can be incompatible with the bacteria of the woman's yoni. And so that's why, we believe, that's why so many women had issues with, bacterial vaginosis or yeast infections when having sex with circumcised men.
Okay, that's really fascinating. I don't know about that one, but I will definitely bounce that off of the physicians who are, part of my board. That's really fascinating. Though here's something so unless a male is properly cleansing, so pulling back that foreskin and cleaning properly, he could be introducing bacteria if there's what's called smegma underneath that foreskin. So.
Yes, exactly. So that was my thought as well. So making sure that we're cleansing our genitals by touching them and massaging between the folds is really, really important.
It is, absolutely. And not scrubbing. We don't want to scrub that skin. We just want to touch it and separate it and be thorough with it. But let me just touch on the fact that there are sexual and non-sexual risk factors to BV. So, some people think of it as an STD or an STI. I don't like to think of it that way, and the reason is because only women get it, okay? So if men can get yeast infections, but they don't have BV. So just by being a woman is a risk factor. Taking antibiotics can contribute to it, because when we take antibiotics, not only does it attack the bad bacteria in our chest, let's say if we have a chest cold, it also, attacks good and bad bacteria throughout our bodies. That's one of the reasons that many physicians recommend we take a probiotic either daily or especially when on any form of antibiotic. I recommend it to women who suffer from recurring yeast infections, BV, but I always tell them to get the approval and the counsel of their physician. Other things that can cause it, non-sexual risk factors, are smoking, IUDs, what I mentioned before, hypercleansing. We do not need to douche, as I said earlier, because our vaginas, the miraculousness of women is our vaginas are self-cleansing. And the other thing we don't want to do is use an antibacterial cleanser, because we want to keep that good bacteria intact. And then the sexual risk factors is they have noticed through studies that having multiple sexual partners increases the frequency with which we may have BV. So if you have more sexual partners, you're more inclined to have BV. Now, they haven't really figured out why that is. It could be, as you said, maybe it's the circumcised guy versus the non-circumcised guy. Maybe it's my biology isn't compatible with that guy's semen. It's still a bit of a mystery within the medical community.
What about, so I'm thinking when you're saying multiple sex partners, I'm thinking condoms and some of the, the lubricated condoms. Like, I'm not a big fan of some of the lubes that they have on these condoms ready to go. So something like that seems like it could potentially throw your bacteria off.
Oh, absolutely. I've just a personal story. I've used condoms before that, had me like jumping out of my skin within, I don't know, half a minute of penetration. I'm like, oh, no. Mm-mm. And had to go immediately wash and clean up, and then, was seeing my physician a week later.
Yeah, and so I would imagine also, speaking of that, so some lubricants. So depending on what kind of lubricant you're using, that can throw up your pH, damage your bacteria. Because they've got some really nasty ingredients in some of those commercially available lubricants. So.
Correct. And, lubricants are now being FDA regulated, which I think is a fantastic thing. And there's one that I'm going to recommend, and I won't have sex without, called Uberlube. And one of the fabulous things of Uberlube, not just that it heightens sensation by reducing friction, but it doesn't have anything organic in it, so it doesn't harbor bacteria or grow any fungus or mold. It's highly vagina friendly. So if you are someone who enjoys silicone lubricants, Uberlube is like a 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. It's awesome stuff.
And so you're saying it doesn't have any organic ingredients, so does it just kind of like wash, rinse out the yoni? Does it just kind of rinse out of the yoni when you're done?
It kind of rolls out, because the great thing about silicone is the molecules are so big that it doesn't cross the body barrier, the flesh barrier. So think of it sort of like mercury rolling out, and it just kind of falls off of your body, basically. So it doesn't get absorbed, which is also another nice factor.
Okay, awesome. So that's good to know.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So these are some of the causes. Any other causes? Because it sounds like, it can just be kind of like this random thing that happens. So we want to make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to cause it. So does, like, you mentioned smoking, does excessive alcohol, like what are some other, like, foods that we can eat that may be stimulating BV in our bodies without us knowing? Did you come across anything like that?
Not that I know of, no. Alcohol has not. I've never read or heard, alcohol discussed. I would say things like sitting in your sweaty yoga pants or your gym outfit. So something you could equate to is like if you sit around in a sweaty t-shirt, you might get pimples on your back, right? Because it's bacteria. Sweat breeds bacteria, and then if you're sitting in a non-breathable piece of clothing, then the bacteria is in a nice, warm, dark, wet place to start multiplying and taking up residence where it shouldn't be. So you want to get out of those sweaty gym clothes. Or bathing suits. You don't want to hang out on the beach in a wet bathing suit. That's why the French are always so sexily changing their swimsuits on the beach. And then, let's see. There are recommendations for things like BV and yeast infections to sleep without any underwear on. And I recently read that there was a study done, and there's no proof in that pudding that helps, but it certainly can't hurt. Mm-hmm. Another thing to do is be sure to, when you use the restroom, be sure to wipe front to back, never back to front, because feces has bacteria in it, and you don't want to introduce fecal matter into your vagina. And the same thing when you're being sexual, if you're doing any backdoor play, you want to make sure that fingers, toys, anything that's backdoor doesn't get to the front door.
Absolutely. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're being aware of all the bacteria. So we are going to let you sit with that for a few moments and think in your life of any areas where you can prevent the introduction of not yummy bacteria into your yoni. And when we come back, we are going to mine the depths of Nina Helms' knowledge on the topic of BV and talk about natural remedies versus allopathic remedies, and dive a little bit deeper into BV prevention and how to recover from it. Once you get it, what do you do? So stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey there, this is Devi Ward Erickson, and I am the founder of the Institute of Authentic Tantra Education. If you've heard about Tantra and are curious about learning more, then listen close. As the ancient science of Tantra becomes more widely recognized, it becomes more and more important for you, the consumer, to understand what kind of Tantra you are getting and where it comes from. The Tantric methods that we offer at the Institute are rooted in Tibetan Tantric Buddhist teachings, designed to catalyze profound healing and transformation in the body, mind, emotions, and sexuality. These are some of the most ancient and authentic tantric teachings available today. We are also the only school for Tantra in North America that has been accredited by the American College of Sexologists. This gives our Tantra training programs an extra level of integrity and credibility. If you are interested in learning authentic and effective tantric practices to increase intimacy and connection, enhance pleasure, and heal your sexuality, then I invite you to head on over to AuthenticTantra.com and get one of our free ebooks on using Tantra as medicine to heal and awaken more pleasure, more joy, and more connection in every area of your life. Go to AuthenticTantra.com right now to learn more. Welcome back to Sex is Medicine. I am Devi Ward, and I am here with the wonderful Nina Helms talking about bacterial vaginosis. How do you get it? And now we're going to talk about once you get it, what do you do? How do you get rid of it? Because, as you said, as you opened, Nina, you shared that as many, 50% of women who get it may have an instance of recurrence. So how do we get rid of it, and how do we prevent it from reoccurring?
Okay, well, once we have it, and the signals that we might have it are very similar to yeast infections. So it's really important that we don't self-diagnose and we go see a physician. I've made that mistake in the past and thought I had a yeast infection, went to, CVS, got Monostat and nothing, and it didn't clear up. And I didn't even know such a thing as BV existed. And I was well into my, late 30s, early 40s at this point. So I'd never had BV. So that's why it's important to not self-diagnose. I'm big about that. And here's a statistic. About 21 million women under the age of 49 suffer from an outbreak of BV at least once per year. So that's pretty common. So ladies, it's really common. We all know what it is, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. Doctors will prescribe either an oral antibiotic or a topical to address bacterial vaginosis. And it's either going to be clindamycin or a different antibiotic. And while you're at your physician, please ask them about taking a probiotic, not just to help you with this round of antibiotics you're taking, but if they think it will help you going forward so that there isn't a reoccurrence of it. I've spoken to a number of physicians about, what do they do when something is persistent, or in the medical term refractory, which means it comes back over and over. And Dr. Pamela D. recommends boric acid suppositories in addition to the antibiotic.
Okay. All right. So that's very interesting. So, because one of the things, it's like, if taking antibiotics can damage our bacteria, our beneficial bacteria, then it's interesting that in order to antidote or remedy BV, that you have to take an antibiotic, and it seems like that would just set you up for a reoccurrence, right?
Right. Exactly. It's like, okay, so you're combating it with something that could cause it. Well, and another thing in my research says that BV is actually very misunderstood by the medical community, and they don't necessarily know why the imbalances happen. So what we can do to prevent is as much as we can to keep in balance. But let's go back to, what can you do once you get it? The other thing a doctor might recommend if the itching is really bad is some steroid cream, like cortisone, just to apply to the labia. You don't want to do that for too long because cortisone has a tendency to thin skin. And that skin is delicate enough, and you don't want it thinned out by much steroid cream use. I'm
going to interrupt you here because I'm curious about these boric acid suppositories. What? I mean, the acid is scary, but the yoni pH is acidic, so that kind of makes sense. But where would you get a boric acid suppository? Because I'm thinking boric acid, like cleaning my laundry with it.
Well, it's the same thing actually, and you can. What some women do is they go to a health food store and they buy gel caps and fill them and make their own boric acid suppositories. There's a company called Seroflora that makes them. You can order them online. They They say that they're safe, natural, effective, and inexpensive. I can't guarantee that that's going to work and that that's the right solution. There are some other natural remedies that are out there, like soaking a tampon in yogurt and leaving that in your vagina overnight or for a couple of hours. I've never done that one. I've done the one where you wrap a piece of garlic, a garlic clove, in something like gauze and obviously tie a string around it. And that actually really does help with the symptoms. But then as soon as the garlic came out, everything was back raging. So it works for some people's biology. I've heard women swear by it. It doesn't work for mine. So the natural remedies you can try, but sometimes they might make the situation worse. Another of the natural remedies that are out there is to either take a bath with some apple cider vinegar in it, or to, again, soak a tampon with apple cider vinegar diluted and wear the tampon for a bit. But I know some women whose situation got exacerbated by doing that versus fixing it. So, I really want to recommend to everyone to go see a physician and then discuss natural remedies with the physician, but at least start with the round of antibiotics.
So what if you have a physician who's not into natural remedies at all? So, luckily I'm in Canada and there's like a naturopathic physician right down the street. So that's awesome, but that's not everybody's case. So if you have a doctor that's like, only antibiotics, but antibiotics could set you up for it to happen again, what do you recommend in that case?
Well, there are naturopaths all over the place. I mean, I had a naturopath in Houston. There are naturopaths here in Maryland, where I now live. So I don't think naturopaths are as far out or unavailable as they used to be. And certainly, you can probably phone them. So yeah, most of the doctors I talk to say to do the antibiotics because the natural remedies don't necessarily work.
So with the antibiotics, you know that you're getting rid of it, and then it sounds like prevention is probably the best ongoing quote unquote cure, is to just ensure that your vaginal pH is kept in a good state, and that you are like you're mentioning the probiotics, ensuring that you're feeding your body on a consistent basis with beneficial bacteria.
Absolutely, and there are lactobacillus suppositories on the market that you can use also, which will, so in addition to taking an oral probiotic, you can take one vaginally, which might be something that you and your physician agree on. Again, you can try the boric acid ones, but again, I wouldn't do it solo.
Right. Yeah, I would be scared, quite frankly. Yeah. I'm this natural remedy. I would be terrified of putting boric acid in my yoni without consulting anybody.
Oh, really? I'd be more scared of the vinegar.
Yeah. So that brings me to a question, because I've heard about douching with apple cider vinegar as a BV remedy. What is your opinion on that?
I wouldn't do it. I don't want to have an opinion on it. I wouldn't do it to my own body, so I'm not going to tell anybody else to do it. Right. Because also, douching is just, the vagina cleans itself. That's why, from what I said earlier in the program, 85% of BV cases, people don't even know it's happening, and it clears up by itself because the vagina is self-cleansing and will eventually get itself in balance if you help it. So that's one of the reasons I recommend if you have BV and you're treating it, or you're getting and it's refractory, right? So it's persistent. Let your body heal before you're sexually active again.
Yes, okay.
I think it's really important to let your body heal, because think of it, when was the last time you got a paper cut? Paper cuts, they take a while, not just to heal, they'll take a couple days to heal, or even just like a regular cut. It takes a while to heal, and then the scar takes even longer to go away. So imagine you've got a bulldozer in your vagina and your labia, and it's itching and it's inflamed and it's, there's an infection. You can't go introducing a penis or a toy or something in there that until that rainforest has a chance to rebuild its flowers and its trees and its grass and that flora and fauna. So that's what I just recommended to a woman just this week who was asking me a bunch of BV advice. She's like, but my boyfriend doesn't want to wait 5 days while she's on the antibiotic. I was like, honey, you need to make him wait like 3 weeks after you finish the antibiotic, or else it's going to come back over and over, and then where's he going to be?
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, that's, lingam massage and hand jobs and.
Well, that's what I told her. I was like, hey, there are all kinds of ways for this guy to have a great time with you without penetration, Yes,
Let's
get creative and experimental. It sounds like fun to me.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an important piece there, because people are all in, a rush, right? And I think there's got to be so much shame and embarrassment, and we get so many messages about, stinky pussies and all that. So I would imagine that this just kind of exacerbates that. And then once it's just a little bit cleared up, we want to go ahead and jump back on the horse. And then it just creates this cycle of, perpetuating the issue. And then again, I just come back to the primary causes, which is an imbalance of that beneficial bacteria or throwing off the pH. And so in my mind, it was a revelation for me when I was given the information that semen is alkaline. It's got a pH of 7, and the yoni is supposed to have a pH of 4. So if you have your partner ejaculating inside of you on a regular basis, like that's gonna throw stuff off, So and that's
it's so bizarre how it throws some people off and it doesn't throw others. I've heard of women who every time they have sex they get a yeast infection. I mean, can you imagine how miserable?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it would seem that their bacteria is not compatible in that case.
Right. Exactly. Get a new boyfriend. or practice safe sex,
Yes.
and use condoms, and a condom that's not going to conflict with your body either. I mean, and there are even some toys. Like I remember, and I won't mention the brand, but I used a toy that was super popular, really high end, and one of the top selling ones. And I tried it, and again, in 30 seconds, my body was like, "Oh no, get that out!" And yep, I was on the phone with my doctor the next day. Mm-hmm. So you never know what might throw off, what your body might react to. And here's the little bit of a bummer is once you've had one infection, you're susceptible to recurring ones because there's vulnerability has been introduced now.
Yes. Yeah. So that makes sense. And that's why so many women struggle with it on a consistent basis and are just ready to pull their hair out because, Mm-hmm. Again, and I also, I'm going to mention the lubricants again. It's chemistry, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about this delicate chemistry of our body, and we never know how these outside things are going to react once they're introduced to this internal flora.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you said it earlier, prevention, and there isn't a magic bullet for prevention. I believe it's a lot of little things. It's using a lube that is compatible with your body, that doesn't have a lot of scents and flavors and heating and cooling and, all that jazz to it. Keep it really simple. You want to practice good, intimate fitness, what I call intimate fitness or intimate hygiene. Clean between the folds. You don't want to hang out in those sweaty yoga clothes. You want to change out of that wet bathing suit. You want to wipe front to back. So just practices that become part of your lifestyle that give you good defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've also read like eating lots of raw vegetables and foods and like healthy diet, that sort of thing because it impacts the body's pH and it also impacts the body's flora, the foods that we eat. So just, being healthy and wise, it sounds like.
Microbiome, exactly. Keeping your microbiome as healthy and as in your favor as possible.
So when we're talking about cleansing that delicate yoni tissue in between the folds and the labia and all of that mucous membrane, I've heard various different opinions on this. So some opinions are you shouldn't use anything at all, any kind of external cleanser or abrasive cleanser on it. I've heard, just using like organic soap, like Dr. Bronner's or something like that. And then I know that you specialize in these intimate fitness products, so actual like cleansers for the yoni. Can you talk a little bit about what we should be washing our yonis with?
Sure. Well, one thing we want to steer clear of antibacterial soaps. Okay, that's an absolute no-no. You also want to steer clear of off-the-shelf bar soaps because they tend to be a pH of 9, and they also tend to have ingredients that aren't compatible with mucous membranes, and actually dry that tissue, okay? Because it's a tissue that likes to be moist, and, you never want your labia to be squeaky clean, okay? Because that means that the oils and the natural minerals and whatnot that are and the microbiome on that skin are stripped away, and then you're sort of left bare and vulnerable. So we want to wash with a pH balanced, a cleanser that complements that skin, that's designed for that skin. And that's why I created my products, because there was nothing on the market when I started in 2012 that was pH balanced, that didn't cause irritation, that didn't have high quality ingredients. So and all of them had glycerin, and all of them had parabens, and things you just don't want down there. So it's important that you use a cleanser that is the right pH, so that's a little bit acidic, so in the 4 range. You want it to have, and it's okay if it's not very soapy, right? Because Americans associate soapy and frothy with clean. And one of the things that I did with my cleanser is it's a foam, it's a mousse, and we use something called soap nuts, which are natural, and that's the foaming agent that we use. So it's very vagina friendly. So and also the preservatives in the product are very mucous membrane compatible as well, and that isn't necessarily what other people who create products like that include in their ingredients.
So what are some of those ingredients that are mucous membrane compatible?
Oh gosh, I don't have my ingredient list in front of me, but aloe. We do most of our products are, over 50% organic and natural. So we use aloe, we use something called I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I'll have to grab a bottle to look up what it is. That's what it is. Allantoin. It's a natural moisturizer. The preservatives we use, They're scientific names. People aren't going to recognize them. We also have rosemary, bergamot, and orange peel oil in all of our products because we like the beneficial properties they have. We also have odor fighting in our products as well, because odor is an issue for women, whether it's real or it's not real. Now, the people who say just use water when you're cleansing, I agree with that to some degree, and especially if you're really cranky and you've got a raging yeast infection or VV going on that's really uncomfortable, or for example, if you have any tearing due to sex, things might be uncomfortable down there, and you might want to just use water. But let's be honest, when we have our periods, when women have babies, all kinds of funky stuff comes out of there for like a month afterward. If it's a hot, humid 90-degree day and we're going to get cozy with someone and, maybe they're going to go down on us, and we don't want to be lying there feeling potentially ashamed or uncomfortable or uptight because we're worried we smell so I think it's important to sometimes use cleansers so that we do have that confidence, so that we have that edge. And sometimes we need the repair and the restoration that those products offer. Like, we put healing ingredients into our products so that if you have had any micro tearing from sex or you are having an infection, it'll help speed the recovery from it.
Right. So it's not just about not using cleanser. It's about using the right cleanser. And I'm so glad you said that about the water, because I have this giant, wonderful booty, and when I work out, it gets sweaty, and I'm just like, there's no way I'm not going to wash that whole area with something, because water is not going to work. That may be too much information,
exactly.
No, but
when you have sweaty armpits, does just water work? No.
Not my armpits, it does not.
No. So exactly. So you definitely
must be woman.
Exactly. You want to get in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so it's about having the right cleanser, so something that's pH. So what about again, I always have, I take commercially available products with a grain of salt, because the orientation is really not about people's health and wellness. Usually it's about just selling a product. So when it comes to I don't know what Vagisil washes and the stuff you can buy at Walmart, should we stay away from those? What are we looking for in regards to the products out there for female washes that claim to be pH balanced?
It's important that whatever we're putting in or on our bodies, that we read labels. I'm not going to disparage anyone else's brand, because that's not fair to do. But I will say you get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to encourage your audience to read labels and know that things like dyes, perfumes, glycerin, foaming agents, and you can look up what typical foaming agents are. Those are not things you want to be putting on your vagina, your vulva. So I'm going to recommend people read labels, and that they go for high quality and spend a little extra for products that are designed for that body part.
Okay, so they want to watch out for glycerins and parabens and dyes. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfumes is a big one. People who have sensitive skin, perfumes is a no-no. Detergents, right? So look up what detergents are, what their sort of scientific names are, and then look at the back of the bottle if you're picking up, a big box retail chain type brand, and see what you think. Now, a lot of people don't have sensitive labia, so they're perfectly fine with an antibacterial soap. But, as you age, our biology changes and shifts. But, BV and yeast infections can hit an 18-year-old.
Yeah, and I wouldn't risk it. That's the thing. It's like, there's some bulletproof yonis, but a whole lot of women that I hear from and you hear from and, the statistics are showing do not have bulletproof yonis. So, probably better to be safe than sorry. And in reading the product labels, it just sounds like, again, healthy food choices. So are we going to eat something that's full of synthetic, things and preservatives and all of that? And exactly. That's not going to be as good for support our health and wellness as eating foods that are more organic and, we can understand the names of the things, the ingredients that are in it. So same with our yonis. It's like feeding the yoni, nourishing foods.
Yeah. Now there's a website called Skin Safe that dermatologists recommend people go to who know, some people know what they're allergic to, some don't. That's one website to go to, and I just learned of a new one called makeupalley.com, which is another place that people can go to look up products they might be interested in, and there are forums that people are chatting about, different products. So those are two resources to go to, and also there's another one, Leaping Bunny. Now, Leaping Bunny isn't necessarily Leaping Bunny is about products that aren't animal tested. Mm-hmm. So if that's important to one as a consumer, then Leaping Bunny is a really good resource as well.
Now, what about your products? Because you were sharing with me earlier some very good news that you're speaking with you may not want to reveal this yet, so I won't say too much, but you may have some good news, like as far as where your products are going to be shared with women in the country.
Yeah, we have a lot of really good things coming down the pipeline. We're in a hospital here in Virginia, in Fairfax Hospital. They have a women's store, and they're carrying our products there. We're also hopefully going to be getting into a few hospitals in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And then we're also in discussions with a hospital that has a large group of OB-GYN and Urogyn offices around Maryland, Virginia, and getting into those places too. So in addition to being available on our sheintimatefitness.com website, women will be able to buy them in hospitals. Like the birthing wards is one place. Wow. Because for episiotomies, that's a big deal to heal from. So our natural cleansing foam and our spray helps women to heal faster from that. Wow. Also, when people, cancer patients, both chemo and radiation are very drying to all skin. And so that's another reason why our cleansing foam is very moisturizing to that skin. So it's cancer patients are having a really nice experience with our cleansing foam. Also with Uberlube, that helps with vaginal dryness. If any of your listeners have dyspareunia, which is painful intercourse, or they have VVA, which is basically a dry vulva and vagina, Uberlube is great for that, as well as our cleansing foam, because again, it doesn't strip away the oils and the minerals that are on the skin. It keeps it intact and even sort of supports that skin.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So people can go to sheintimatefitness.com to learn more about your products, and then if they're in any of the areas that you spoke of and they have to visit the hospital for some reason, then they may be able to find your products there as well. It's really exciting. And we're
really, really proud of that. And then we've got some new products coming down the pike for pain, for vaginal pain, which is a big issue for women as well. So yeah, we're kind of excited about where we're going.
Awesome. That is so exciting. Well, I am very honored and very grateful that you have been willing to spend this time with us this evening and educate us about the realities of BV and most importantly, what we can do to prevent it. And, so yes, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, all of you wonderful listeners, for joining us this evening. I hope that this information has enriched your life in a multitude of ways. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me at daviewardtantra.com or authentictantra.com. And of course, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, both of those at Authentic Tantra and Devi Ward Tantra. Nina, where can they find you aside from your website, sheintimatefitness.com?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're on Instagram at sheintimatefitness. We're on Twitter at sheintimatefit. And of course, we're on Facebook, also She Intimate Fitness. So we'd love to have any of you guys follow us, and we share a lot of great women's intimate health information, pelvic pain, pelvic health, intimate health, boob health, all of it. Everything that makes us sexy, we're talking about it.
Everything that makes you a female. That's awesome. All the juicy goodness of that and how to enrich it and make it healthy and strong and awesome. So
that's right.
I love it. Yay. Well, thank you again, Nina. Thank you, everybody out there.
Here.
Yay, awesome. So you can catch our next live show on, I'm going to give you the date here, April 5th, Thursday, April 5th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. Catch us live and catch us in between shows at iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, all the good stuff. You can go to daviewardtantra.com podcast to get all the replay links and find out about our upcoming episodes. Have a beautiful evening. Much love, many blessings. Can't wait to connect. Have a great night.
You've been listening to Sex is Medicine with Devi Ward, your #1 resource for holistic sex education. Listen to the replay of this and every show at medicinesex.com. That's medicinesex.com. And send your questions for Devi to answer live on the air. Connect with Devi directly at daviewardtantra.com. That's DEVIWARD Tantra.com. And remember to follow Devi Ward Tantra on Facebook and Twitter.